this microphone works. All right, someone's gonna have to give me a microphone check. Make sure that my mic is hot because I can't test it while I'm on the road. Gotta make sure my mic looks right, my audio's good. Already got 3 people, so good morning. This is the microphone I'm using. If I could get quickly in the chat room, then I won't watch the chat room anymore because I'm driving. It's been a while since I've done one of these live drives. I don't normally go on distances. I will do a longer one next week because it's going to go on a road trip. Oh, shit. Someone said something? There we go. The mic is good. Thank you very much. So let's start with this. Q&A. Do you have questions? Because you have pretty much my undivided attention that normally isn't there when I'm prospecting. Ask me questions really about things I know, because to presume that this Q&A is like ask me anything, I try to stay in my lane when it comes to knowledge about things. And since I've been selling residential real estate since 1993, my primary focus has always been on telephone prospecting and door knocking. So, my knowledge is narrow but deep. Very deep but narrow. Call tools versus Mojo. Thank you very much. All right. We're going to talk. I love it. That's actually a really good question. And can't you tell by the excitement I have? Call tools versus Mojo. Let's start by saying Call Tools is not a CRM. By the way, is this the microphone right here? You guys hear me loud and clear? If this is the mic, then I don't have to shout. My car is very loud. You hear that wind blowing? That's my microphone. I was actually going to put it right here. Then that would make the ideal sound spot, but, that'd be weird. So putting it right here is second best. Anyhow, Call Tools versus Mojo. I'll start by saying a CRM, customer relationship manager, contact relationship manager, a database where you put your names and numbers, emails, addresses, has to have a certain criteria for each business. Each business has a specific need. My business revolves around lead generation and follow-up, which means if I have lead generation and follow-up as a priority, I need to have it, say lead generation, it has to make outbound calls. Let me take it back a step. In my opinion, for what I do, for what we do, the CRM has to cover 5 bases. 5 prisms, I think. I was half asleep last night. I actually dreamt about this, trying to define this 5. I call it the Festini 5, but it's not. It's like our industry is a prism, a light, and then you shine the light through it and it comes out in different. So the other side of this prism consists of 5 colors. They are mail, email, text, phone, door. And just because I'm driving doesn't mean you shouldn't write this down. This is not game changing, but these are the fundamentals of residential real estate lead generation and prospecting as I know it. And I've overthought this enough to say you should pay attention, because it all makes sense for all of us. And I feel like I put it into a box that's easily digested, a meal, digestible meal. So these 5 precepts, 5 levels of communication, 5 degrees of CRM. If your CRM does not do these 5, then it's a lesser CRM, right? It's a lesser CRM. So the 5 are mail, email, text, phone, door. Mail being an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a stamp, and an envelope. Email, you know what email is. Text. Now I'm not a fan of mass texting, so although some CRMs do text, it's almost cumbersome to have it do the text unless that text is integrated with your personal cell phone, and then it kind of migrates what your cell phone, the communication, and that communication goes into your notes. Does this make sense? Can I get an amen? So if I text something to someone and they respond, that dialogue, ideally it would go into my notes so that there would be conversation logged so that I know, oh, Mr. Jones, last time I talked to him, da 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 da. Otherwise, if you don't have a good notes section, right, which is what I'm going to get into, this question might eat up the whole time because it's loaded, man. I know this answer. Call tools versus Mojo. So we're talking about mail, email, text, phone. Clearly, the ability to dial a number, whether it's 3 lines or 20, 30, 40 lines, doesn't matter. I'll talk about that in a second. And then lastly, the door. Now, on these 5 precepts, I divide them also based on efficiency and price. So, as we start at the top of the precepts or colors, mail is the most expensive. Email, text, phone, door being the least expensive. But mail, 55, 60 cents a stamp, right? Email being the least, so we're talking about cost and effectiveness for a CRM and what the functionality is. Mail is probably the least effective in a sense because, well, of these 3, they consist of a call to action, but there's no demand for response. And let me emphasize the difference between that. A call to action versus a demand for response. A call to action is call me now, call for a free CMA, send me your business. It's just this passive request for information, right? A demand for response is only achievable at the phone and on the door. At the door and on the phone. That's the only method by which you can demand a response, meaning in real time, I want an answer to my question, are you thinking of buying or selling? So these 2 exist in what could be called active, right? So you see, you following this line? Mail, email, text, passive. Mail, email, text says, call me, email me, anytime you want, whatever. It's passive. They can throw it away. And if you don't have the next level of analytics behind these technologies, then they just go to the trash anyhow, right? Okay, so those are the 5 precepts, I think is the word I'm looking for a CRM. Mojo, let's talk about Mojo first, because Mojo does have all 5. Well, with the exception of text, but again, the only functionality I could see and have seen this work slightly properly is with an app called a CRM called Follow Up Boss. Please let me know if my audio is good. I always feel like I have to yell in this car because it's so loud, but I have the mic right here, so it might not be so bad. I'm very sensitive to the audio, and I want to make sure that you guys hear me because this is important. So thumbs up is good. I don't see any thumbs up. I guess I'm not making any sense, or you just don't like what I'm saying. Otherwise, there'd be like 5 thumbs up. So, the 5 precepts: mail, email, text, phone, door. Mojo does mail. That is like right there for me. Yes, thank you very much, dear. The most important one right now is the first one, the most expensive one. But the one that I say, okay, my CRM, if I'm going to invest in a CRM, it has to have these five. So there's this gateway to entry, right? Like in the Army, when I was in the Army, in order to get your expert infantry badge, the first thing you had to do was be a sharpshooter, like shoot a weapon, be a good shot, and then the rest of the 3, 4, 5 day test of like weapons and munitions and PT and all that stuff happen. But the first test eliminates 99% of the competition. So if you're a sharpshooter, you move on. If you don't, well, fortunately, I got my expert infantry badge because I can shoot a gun really well. What I'm getting at is the sharpshooter criteria for a CRM for me to eliminate all of the CRMs is male. And I know you can incorporate things like banner season, send out cards, you can send out core fact, but I like to have my CRM be a one-stop shop. And I know a lot of people say there is no perfect CRM, but I'm going to argue that Mojo, especially when they let me develop a door knocking app, they became perfect. The only thing that I could see differently is if they did somehow integrate my iPhone with T-Mobile to have and I'd like to feng shui a little bit of the alignment. That's being nitpicky. Mail merge, mailing out a postcard to an individual. Does your CRM do that? Probably not. Does your what's that one called? KV Core? Nope. KV Core is one of the biggest ones out there. I used Top Producer for years because Top Producer did in fact do mailers. And then when Mojo began doing mailouts, I canceled Top Producer. Besides, Top Producer's crap, but they were the closest. If they would have just let me be a part of it, they could have been good. But then they got out by, I think, homes.com or realtor.com, and they abandoned that software greatly, and people still buy it. It's garbage. For my purpose, by the way, for my needs. My needs are these five: mail, email, text, phone, door. None less important than the other. So Mojo does mail. You can create a mail campaign. You can build a letter template. You can build hundreds of letters inside of Mojo, and then take all of these letters and build a campaign specific to your avatar, your ideal client. So if you work for sell by owners, you can make 20 letters designed for sell by owner and make that so you click one button inside of Mojo, you load the for sale by owner in there with name, address, email, all that, all that. You click one button and it'll mail out one letter a week. Yes, you have to print it. Yes, you have to do the envelope. Yes, you have to do the stamp. But it will put you accountable to sending out a letter, which, hello, that's old school. But how many pieces of mail do you get a day? I get 2, maybe 3. The only thing you get now in the mail is a bill. So if you get a stamp from a realtor that looks good, mind you, it's not a pre-printed label, it's handwritten, like the outside I don't print onto the envelope. The envelope looks clean, like it's sticky. Mail. Done right. Mail, you could create templates. Now I'm creating and designing templates for my avatar, for sell by owner or expired or just a cold call, follow-up campaigns that could go a year, 2 years. You get a new lead now and they say not until next summer. You can create a campaign that says not till next summer. And the first letter that you send out will auto-populate that says, hey, thank you very much for your time on the phone. I know that you're not thinking of selling until next summer, but I wanted to introduce you to myself, da-da-da. And then the next letter comes out a week later, and it'll say, hey, sent your letter last week, and I wanted to reach out to you to let you know about da da da. You like fill in the blanks because you can. It's on the fly, but interest rates, articles. That's mail, right? Let me answer your question. Does Call Tools do that? No. I mean, if you want me to get to the point of Mojo versus Call Tools, then I could get to the next question if someone else has another question. But I love talking about this stuff, so forgive me. The difference between Mojo and Call Tools. Call Tools has, if I'm not mistaken, up to 30 telephone line dialer, meaning you can dial 30 people. I don't even have that many fingers. 30 people, and the first one that picks up is in your ear. Sounds pretty cool, right? Except for the likely 10 that you hang up on. Because again, with a 5 to 10% pickup answer rate, and you dial 30 numbers, if it's a 5 to 10%, say 7% pickup rate, you dial 30 times 3, you're hanging up on at least 5 people, 5 to 10 people a minute, 20, 30 people a minute. You want to talk about getting your phone number marked as spam likely the fastest way possible? Use a 30 line dialer. So the beauty, that's the shit part about Call Tools, and the good part. Let me tell you the rad. I mean, it's not all gloom and doom with Call Tools. Call Tools does this. You can load your caller ID without verification. Let that sink in. I'm not going to talk about it. When you load as many caller IDs as you want, like in Mojo, you have to call, you load in your caller ID, and then Mojo has to call you and say, press 1 to verify this is a legitimate number and that you're not spoofing the call, right? You're not faking caller ID. See my eyes? You're not faking the caller ID, because Mojo doesn't let you do that. I see a long statement there. Give me a second here. When it slows down, I'll look. The caller ID for Mojo has to be validated. Call Tools doesn't. When you have 60, 80, 100, 200 caller IDs inside of Call Tools, first of all, will not dial, I'm pretty sure, will not dial numbers on the do not call list. So that's a great thing. You don't have to worry about the DNC. Just load your numbers. It's not going to call people on the DNC. You don't have to maintain and manage the do not call. They got that. Right? They got that covered. If your caller ID gets marked as spam likely or red flagged, or the attestation drops, it will stop using that caller ID. In Call Tools, you can program it so that your caller ID rotates. So if you have 50 caller IDs, it rotates it, and assuming you have 1,000 caller IDs inside of Call Tools, you could realistically avoid getting flagged as spam because it doesn't use that caller ID but every 1,000 outbound dials, right? Call Tools records the call. Mojo does too. How many of you guys knew that Mojo records your phone call? I never knew that. I never knew it. And then one day I was bopping around Mojo. I'm like, what's this? They record your calls, which is awesome. Because if you want to know how to improve on your prospecting, you play back your call. My one-on-one students give me my calls. Okay, I'm meeting a lot of people at the doors, and so I need to be careful as to who I add to my database before I can sustain the cost of mailing every month. Yeah, that's all another. Let me see. Let me go back here. Call Tools versus Mojo. What is your why? James, drive safely. Thank you. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. If we don't get their email or number at the door, we just have their mailing address. Is that enough? That's a $6 a year approach to send that mail. Yeah, mailing gets expensive. You work that into your budget. My stamp budget is $300 a month. I spend about $300 a month in stamps. What I don't do is advertise, which is still a lot more. When I send out a mailer, it is extremely targeted only to people who might be interested in selling their house. So, for example, if you use Corfact or if you use HomeBot and Mojo, you have a database that's called hot, you have a database that's called cold, you have a database that's called warm. Inside of your hot database, if they're hot, they need to be getting a letter twice a month, no questions asked. Yes, that is, it's 55, 60 cents a stamp right now per person per mail out. Yes. But for me, it's also a $25,000 paycheck if I get that listing. So I don't mind spending $1,000, $2,000 on one individual if I get it. Quick commercial break brought to you by Monster Rehab. This is the Rehab edition, by the way. If you drink Monsters at all, Rehab Peach Tea and Lemonade Tea are the only energy drinks that I can stand. They taste delicious. So, ask your next question. Otherwise, I could continue on the Mojo. All right. Mojo versus call tools. Mojo's outbound dialer is limited to 3. I'm very, very close as I'm studying. And fortunately, I want to learn and study, as so should you. Study caller ID reputation, stir shaken, attestation. Go to calleridreputation.com, subscribe to their blog. Know this stuff. If you're going to make outbound calls at scale, know your stuff. Caller ID integrity still hasn't hit the mainstream real estate. Probably maybe never will, because very few of us even make calls. But I tell you what, once the dust settles from all of this caller ID, reputation, suspected spam, stir shaking, spoofing, once all the dust settles, cold calling, telemarketing will either be back, meaning that it's going to be awesome because people will start answering their phone again, because the caller ID will become reliable. Because right now, caller ID is a piece of crap. It's 2022. You should not get a phone call, look at your phone and ask, who is this and what do they want? Every caller ID very soon will come with more information. Very soon it will have your business card, your logo. So when you call, it'll be you, and they'll either ignore you or not. But they will not be afraid to pick up their phone. You know what I mean? when you talk to them on the phone, people will be less reluctant to share because they'll know the person they're talking to is a real person and not a crook. You see, back in 1993 to 2003, when I started in 93, you could pick up the phone, make cold calls, and set an appointment because the fear of telephone scammers wasn't so embedded into our culture that every senior and everybody who picked up the phone was immediately assuming there was something sinister. There wasn't this reluctance, right, to share, hey, this is when I'm moving. And people's others, I don't even want to go in there, but this caller ID thing is going to be big. It's already big. Caller ID Reputation has a program where they will monitor and watch your caller ID to make sure that it doesn't get marked as spam. They don't that if your number does get marked as scam or spam, there'll be a link there where you can pursue correcting it. Things like call transparency will help you in registering your C name, your caller ID name, so that it's legitimate. We've got to legitimize your caller ID. So, call tools, if you have a very large database and you need to get through it really fast, if you don't have any leads, here's a good example. If you don't have any leads, if you're just starting out in the business, call tools. Because you can load in a database of, say, 50,000 phone numbers. Don't go too far geographically. You'll regret it. 40, 30,000 numbers. And you can plow through that. And it will propagate. It will dissect your database to say, this was a bad phone number. This was a fax machine. This one did not answer, right? So it's almost, you still have to physically go through your database, but you'll go through it faster, power through, you'll generate leads. One thing I did notice with call tools though, versus Mojo, when I used Mojo, and they pick up the phone and they answer, I hear them, right? Hello? Or with Mojo, you don't hear them. Hello? Neither call tools. It's a beep. But you know someone's there. And you say, hi, my name is Agent with Company. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. And they don't say anything. They just hang up. With Mojo, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes I would mark it as a contact because I felt that they heard me, if that makes any sense. I know they heard me. And to me, when you use Mojo and you say, hi, my name is Agent with Company, and the screen turned red, you know they hung up on you before you pitched, before you said your whole script. But if they get all the way, right? And then you hear in the background, there's some sort of noise. And then they hang up. I would count that. Not all the time. You got to be honest with yourself. No one is winning or losing by counting this. But if you have a specific goal to get 100 contacts a day, you got to be honest with yourself and say, did they pick up or did they not? So when they do that, I'd be like, yeah, I genuinely feel like someone picked up and they hung up on me, so I'll count it. With Mojo, I felt someone was there. With call tools, I didn't feel someone was there. And I know on the back end, there's different technologies when they use voice over IP for the dialer, different technologies. So strangely enough, this ESP, this extrasensory perception that I've acquired over millions, probably millions, at least 1 million outbound calls over to, it's definitely millions. That's one of the questions I'm going to ask God when I meet her. I'm going to ask questions. When I meet God, I'm going to ask her about my telemarketing. How many calls? How do I compare globally? Seriously. First question I'm going to ask God is, on the grand scheme of things, how many outbound calls did I make? Like, globally. And I know God is going to be like, damn. There was this one guy in India who started when he was 7. But besides them, James, you actually, you're like number 2 in outbound dials. I'll be like, I knew it. Because I've just always been comfortable and obsessed with making calls. I've done a lot of outbound calls. That's why this is my jam. You get me started, you won't get me stopped, because I know, I pay attention to this stuff. I'm not the richest, I'm not the greatest, but I am pretty consistent. So I can answer these questions with confidence, so I can help you make more calls in less time. In turn, making money. So with call tools, it was so significant, this sensation that somebody wasn't there, that I changed my script. Some of you watched me live do it. Where right now I say, hi, my name is Adrian with the company. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. With call tools, I was saying, hi, my name is James. Can you hear me? Hi, my name is can you hear me? I would literally go, I crafted very specifically, because there's only so many syllables that every word I use on the phone is it's laser sharp, specific. I don't make this shit up as I go. I've already done that for a long time. Now I know exactly what I'm going to say, because if I say it exactly like I say it, and they give me a specific response, I generate a lead based on an expectation. When you mix a certain amount, like, chocolate milk or Starbucks, right? KFC, they have certain ingredients, and if they do it exactly, it turns out the same. Any variation of that ingredient doesn't work. I say chocolate milk because I'm passing by a place with the world's greatest chocolate milk right now. As soon as on my way back, I'm going to pick up like 5 gallons. That's how good it is. Only one place has it. You'll never know the glory of Dijon's unless you do it. It's amazing. Anyhow, so I was changing my script with call tools because I didn't feel it. Call tools, here's the downside of call tools. Mojo versus call tools. I told you this is going to be a live wire. Mojo versus call tools. Call tools does one thing right. Lots and lots of outbound calls. Lots and lots of outbound calls. 30-line dialer. Now, being who I am, I bought 2 accounts, and I had 30 lines on my right ear and 30 lines on my left ear, and so I was doing a 60-line dialer. Here's the thing. I never got more than 300 contacts in one day, which is crazy, because I am capable of getting 700 to 1,000 contacts a day with the right technology, and that technology doesn't exist. I still have the equipment, but with caller ID, the do not call list, it wouldn't work the same way. And it requires landlines versus voice over IP. It's just, those days are gone. Maybe not. Here's the worst part. Here's like call tools. I wanted call tools so bad. I wanted call tools to work so bad. Like, I want somebody to eliminate Mojo because I've been with Mojo for so long. But the only way to take me away from Mojo is to be better. So when I first saw Call Tools, I'm like, whoa. But it never did letters. It barely does email, but it's not very good, right? It'll just send the email. It does text, but I never dove into it. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, it does text in bulk, and I'm not a fan at all. Text in bulk is a disaster waiting to happen. Especially if you can hit stop, then you know it's spam, right? And then, of course, no door. So, Mojo versus Call Tools. Here's the worst thing that I did not like about Call Tools. And as soon as I saw this, because what I was going to do is I was going to take Mojo, inside of my Mojo, I have leads and not leads, right? Leads and not leads. Leads meaning call, warm, hot, cold, past clients, sphere of influence. Those are leads, not hot, warm, right? But in Mojo, I have not leads, which is a database of 100,000, 50,000, 80,000 people. It's a massive database. I wanted to take that 100,000 database and send it over to Call Tools and have Mojo just be warm, hot, cold, just to manage my follow-up. So I was going to have Call Tools as my cold call, Mojo as my follow-up when they're hot. Problem is, Call Tools does not have a next call date. It does, but it doesn't. And the most important part about a CRM is the next call date, meaning the next activity. It wasn't front and center, and it wasn't automated. Like with Mojo, if you talk to someone and they say, I'm not interested right now, call me in a month, you can click on the green plus arrow and it will be follow-up call. You can put them as high, medium, and low and schedule them into the future. And then you can go into your calendar, and inside of your calendar, you can open up that calendar and dial from your calendar. That is the best part about Mojo, is being able to have your calendar dial your follow-up. Call Tools, if you got a lead and they said, not right now, call me later, it was nearly impossible to go to the place where it says next call date. And then it would be more like an alert for next call date, not a queue, not a lineup. So I couldn't go in and say, hey, I want to call all my follow-up calls, go. It was, here's one, finger dial here. So it defeated the purpose of dialing. I never want to dial with my finger again. I want to use automation. And so Call Tools did that so poorly. And I begged them, please have somebody from your tech team call me and let me just use this tiny little corner to put a calendar for my follow-up. Nah, let's forget it. So that was the most annoying thing about Call Tools, was that they had great analytics, they had great call recording, their caller ID was awesome, they could blow through tons of phone numbers. I had to keep a mirrored copy inside of my Mojo and my Call Tools of all of the 100,000 database inside of Mojo, because when I got a lead inside of Call Tools, I would stop, go into Mojo, look them up, and mark them as a lead, and then put a follow-up call day there, and a campaign day there, and add an email there. Another nice thing about Call Tools is it deleted duplicates. It merged duplicates. It would check based on phone numbers. Mojo does that too, but if you don't do that in the beginning, like trying to delete duplicates when you have a large database months in is really difficult. It's time consuming. It's a nightmare. But Nonetheless, I'm almost at my destination. I told you this would take it all. And I saw other questions. I've immediately made an association with them when I say that. What are your thoughts? Whoops, go back. James, the only thing I've been adding to your door knocking script is hi, my name is Stuart. I'm a neighbor, but I don't think we've met. I find that they come out and shake my hand and open up much more. Okay, that'll work. When two people answer at the same time, Mojo calls back and people get mad when they see. So here's the thing. Let me get to that real quick. When Mojo dials three people, right? One person answers and the two are left behind. If the other one picks up, let's say A, B, C, you're calling, line A answers. What happens to line B? You're talking to line A. Hi, my name is Agent with Company. I was calling to see. And line B or C gets that, which the message should be nothing. It should just be hang up. Don't do, hey, the reason they get mad is probably because you're doing this recording. Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? We must have a bad connection. I'll call you right back. Don't do that. That will piss me off if you call me right back. I will remember that message. If you call me with that today, August 3rd, 12th, and you call me August 12th of next year, and I hear that same machine, I will remember. Maybe not everybody's like that. Maybe people are just in one ear out the other. But I'll remember that, and I'll be like, I remember I got this call before. It's an automated machine. F this guy, right? But if you just, when Mojo sets up that script, it says, set up your callback, right? When you hang up on someone, what happens? Hang up. It goes, please record your message and hang up. Mojo recommends say, hi, this must be some static on the line. Don't do that. Just as soon as that recording goes, please record your message, beep, press the pound button, and it's just a disconnect. That way, when you call them back, so here's the answer to the question. I hardly ever get that. Hardly ever get that. And I hear people get it. Now, I know this because that technology that I used from 2000 to 2005, the Gemini 2000, the software and technology that allowed me to make 700 to 1,000 contacts a day. When I used that software, I would get that often, where people would say, hey, I answered the phone and nobody picked up. What the hell, right? Or you call them back and they go, why didn't you talk to me the first time? Or did you just hang up on me? Here's the script. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to talk to you. Anyhow, I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. Go right into your script. Don't give them a second. You hear me? Hey, did you just hang up on me? No, I want to talk to you. My name is James. I'm a real estate agent. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. Like, be a deer caught in the headlights with that stuff. Do not, I promise you, this is the most efficient, because all you're there for is to ask the question. Hey, did you just hang up? Did you just call and hang up on me? No, I don't think so. I want to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you. Why? No, you just called and hang up. No, I don't know. Well, I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling your house. No. I mean, how much farther are they going to take it? Now, if you use a machine that says, hi, we must have a bad connection. Let me call you right back. Then maybe, I mean, if people are more sensitive, if they're more sharp, right, more witty, if they're more witty, they're going to put two and two together a little bit faster. Then you're going to have a problem, because then they're going to calculate automated dialer, automated machine, right? If somebody is into that, then you're going to have a more sophisticated confrontation, not just a, hey man, why'd you hang up? It's going to be like, are you using an automated dialer? No, I mean, I use my iPhone. Is that what you're talking about? Like, play dumb, right? Just play dumb. Anyhow, I'm at my destination. I'm going to get your other questions in a minute. Once I transfer, I'm going to drop off my van. We'll see you in the new car in a second. Bye.